Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Trader Summit. And I've been missing him the last few weeks, but I have Mr. Richard Matthews from One.io joining us today. I know you've been a little under the weather, so it's good to see you back.
Oh, I don't know whether you can hear me. It's good to see you as always, Blake. But I've still got this bad throat. It's just a bug going around in the UK, and it seems to come and go. But it's come back a little bit this week.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today because, a lot's been happening this week. Let's start off. Let's start off with you being the Bitcoin whisperer, and we have Bitcoin
Oof,
rallying above 50,000.
yeah,
You are at One.io. You guys
yeah.
facilitate a lot of crypto transactions. So what are you seeing over there, and what are your thoughts on this recent rally?
Uh, Two things which I thought was really interesting. I talked to our Bitcoin traders quite a lot. Being an old trader myself, I'm always interested in keeping my finger in the pie and annoying them. They were pretty interested that when Bitcoin back down to 40,000, they saw a lot of fresh buying come in, and which was sort of a little bit surprising. It looked like it was going to break down a little bit more. Uh, Knocking around 50,000, I think the inflows into the ETF are certainly greater than I expected, and possibly only the start of a waterfall of coins going in, money and coins going in there. So I actually think longer term, I can see 70, 75 maybe. But before that, it's pretty much gone up in a straight line. I'd like to see a little bit of a setback, maybe to the mid 40s. And then I'd look probably to tickle some on board.
Do you think mid 40s is really a realistic expectation on this breakout? I mean, this is a pretty massive one.
Yeah, it's so hard because you don't know the depth in the market. But the one thing that Bitcoin does tend to do is it trades pretty neatly off charts. And I think you might see a little bit of a retracement, just come back down, and then people will get some on board. However, maybe people are thinking that, and they're gonna miss the boat, and it goes. But I wouldn't want to be short of it any more than I'd want to be short of the dollar.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk. Well, rather than just talk about the dollar, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in your neck of the woods with
Yeah,
regarding the UK, and then maybe that'll translate a little bit
yeah,
into the dollar. This week, we've gotten a bunch of UK data that's come out. We start off with the jobs data, which wasn't horrible to start the week, but
it
then you
was
got
okay actually.
yeah. I mean, they weren't bad, but then you got the CPI data on Wednesday, was it Tuesday or is it
Yeah,
Wednesday? And then today you got preliminary GDP numbers coming a little worse than
yeah.
expected. You've seen quite a reversal. I want to say the sterling's been trading heavy, like pound dollar or cable's been trading heavy, but it's more the euro sterling that's really recovered. What are your thoughts on what's is it is does the data constitute that much cable weakness? And then also tomorrow we do have UK retail sales, and we just saw them come out
Yeah,
of the US a little weaker than expected.
yeah.
But anyway, what are your thoughts on sterling right now?
I really mucked up that link. I should have said I don't want to be short of Bitcoin, but I'd like to be short of sterling. So um, I thought the wages number was the interesting part on the employment. I think unemployment's actually better than people expected. I think the wages are still 6.3%, still pretty bubbly up there. Yeah, with inflation knocking around 4%, that's an interesting level to have your wages growth at. Amazingly, Chancellor Hunt, and you have to be very careful when you say those two words together, uh, certainly in my respect for politicians, was saying, oh, everything's okay, inflation's under control, and everything's great because wages are growing faster than inflation. Well, I thought that actually that would probably cause inflation to catch up again, but maybe I'm wrong, and he's brighter than I am. Food price inflation still over 7%. 3.5 times the Bank of England's level. Doesn't look that good. I think now with we're higher for longer, as I was saying for a long time last year. I saw a new phrase today, higher forever, which I think is quite amusing. But at these levels, because actually they're not high historically. I think gradually all these rate cuts, both in the UK and in the US, have been pared right the way back. I can't see how they can cut, especially with the recent this whole transit inflation is transitory, this recent thing in the background when they got it so wrong. I think the central banks will err on the side of caution. If you looked at the GDP numbers, you would cut. So it's really, really difficult. And there are other factors coming into play now in the UK. And actually, I think it's half the world's got elections this year. But in the UK and in the US, you've got an election almost certainly, well, it has to be before January next year in the UK. So the money is on November or December over here. You've got an election in the States. What central bank governor wants to come in and be accused of being political because he slashed rates? So the closer you get to an election, I think the chances of a rate cut recedes, because I don't think they want to have these figures pointed at them.
You know, it's interesting because I mean, you've been real, you push back a lot as the market has priced in interest rate cuts globally. And you're like, this is a couple months back, 2, 4, 3, maybe December, November timeframe. You're like, I still think the Fed hikes before they cut.
Yeah.
And now that still to me sounds a little crazy. But, seeing the inflation data that we got here in the US, is it that crazy? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't know, Is the economy, has it sort of bottomed and it's accelerating again in the States? So you look at that, look at the non-farm payroll numbers and you look at the inflation numbers. Tell me what your next call on interest rates would be. A cut or a hike? Close one thing. Yeah, right. I said it's a flippant remark to annoy someone.
It is a very flippant remark, and there's obviously a lot more data that the market's paying attention to. But I get what you're saying. If you just took out employment and inflation, set it aside, and looked at it, you'd think the Fed might be raising rates next.
Yeah, and what's the Fed? What the Fed's dual mandate? Employment and inflation.
And price stability,
price
stability, as Trichet would say, and then we also have anyway. Jokes aside,
it's the political side of this that interests me. And in the UK, we've got 2 by-elections tonight, which were nailed on for the Labour Party to win. Labour Party's got its own internal problems with anti-Semitism. I'm not going to comment on it, but they've actually stood down the official candidate, which throws the cat amongst the pigeons in these by-elections. I think Sunak's really going to get a hammering. I don't think you get it in the States what you get here. You get really funny candidates. Anyone can stand. They put up, I think it might be £1,000 or something that they're prepared to risk. I can stand as a candidate for whatever I want to stand at. Yeah, they've even got a candidate, I've got it written here. Raving rodent subaltern for the official monster raving loony party is one of the candidates.
That would be that'd be also I guess it's funny but not funny. You say this, but in the US there is some serious talk of a third party that might emerge for this election, which look, I'm as an American, I look at our 2 candidates. And we have a house divided amongst my entire family of 30, 40, 50 people on both sides. So I've voted both directions, but I look at our 2 candidates and say, damn, they're way. Yeah. My grandparents have passed away, and they were younger than them. So
yeah. I look at it from. We look at it from over here, and I was talking to my wife and saying, American politics is so different to our politics that, we've had, 4 leaders in the time Biden's been president. Johnson, Truss, Sunak.
What's the lady's name?
One other, I can't think who the other one was. So you've had, in that time, you've had 4 leaders of the Conservative Party. But to me, that in a way is the strength of our politics, because I can't see, and I'm really not political, but I cannot see how Biden is fit to lead a country, let alone a great country like the United States. The man is palpably ill. I think it's almost cruel to him to do it, but there's no mechanism really to get rid of him, is there?
There isn't, and that's the thing. And we could get in a very big political
Yeah.
conversation,
No.
and then you start talking about what, Democrats, they put themselves in a box because of their
Yeah.
VP, and there's all sorts of things. Anyway, but what I'd like to say is it is interesting that you may have a little bit of turmoil there in the UK. And do you think that's
Yeah.
actually weighing on sterling right now?
Yeah, we rambled off in a different direction, but I think that seriously might just be sitting on top of it. I'm an old man now, but always political uncertainty, weakness in the pound, especially if you think there's going to be a Labour Party socialist victory, because they are historically they just go and spend money. There isn't any money to spend, so I don't know how they're going to do that. I think there's a lot of things to play here. Nigel Farage, my dear old ex-work colleague from Refco days, is playing his cards very close to his chest. He could destroy the Conservative Party, but in doing so, he hands the keys to number 10 to the Labour Party, which is the last thing he wants to do. I think there's an interesting game going on in the background. Long odds, probably not quite as long as the Fed putting rates up, but long odds you could see Farage either start a new party or come in as leader of the Tories. And that would be really, really an interesting thing to say, but unstable for the currency. And it goes back. Instability, you short it. The only good thing is the euro is a bigger pile of shit than sterling.
Well, we're gonna watch price action and find out exactly who's right in that debate. Anyway, hey, Richard, I want to thank you for being with us. I know, it's been a couple of weeks. It's nice to have you back.
Andy,
Can you tell everybody how to follow your work now that you're feeling a little bit better?
Yeah, it's going to have to be very quick because I've got a sneeze coming. You can follow me on @DickieMatthews on Twitter, or at one.io on Twitter, and on LinkedIn at one.io. I've even got the company t-shirt on today, which is amazing. A company hoodie. Shows how young and trendy I am. I'll be listening to rap music next. You look
pretty hip. I'm gonna give that to you. My 16-year-old son my youngest would approve. So
yeah,
Richard,
this is going to get clipped, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can see this on Twitter later on. I'm going to pay for this.
Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Lovely to see you, Blake. Cheers now. Bye.
Hey traders, Blake Morrow here. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also click the bell notifications so you do not miss any of our market-related trading analysis from some of the leading industry experts. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in the next video.